Welcome into the DNVR Avalanche podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. I am your host, Rudolph, joined as always by AJ Haefele. The Avs are off today, but plenty of news to talk about. I mean, let's just start with the news of the day, I suppose. Kasperi Kapanen. The Leafs have started in on whatever it is they have to do this offseason to make it work for them. Kind of interesting bedfellows, I suppose. I wasn't really expecting Pittsburgh to be involved in this, but you know, sometimes that's the way things go. AJ, any initial thoughts on any of this?
You know, this is it's about Kapanen.
Yeah.
First and foremost, like, it's about Kapanen. I thought that the price paid was stupid.
Look, we knew Toronto was going to have to move players, right? So
yeah,
they were in a pretty disadvantageous situation.
I mean, they got a first-round pick for Kapanen, man.
Right.
So all of our...
That's what I'm saying. I mean, given their situation.
Like, that's... I mean, he's arguably like their 6th or 7th best forward. And now he goes to Pittsburgh, and, you know, for them... I think this makes a lot of sense outside of the fact that, like, it's just more money they're sinking into their forward core, and they are very, very, very tight up against the cap as it is. But, you know, now having a top 6 where, you know, you have Malkin, you have Crosby, you have Gensel, you have Jason Zucker, you have Hornquist, you have Kapanen, and then you still have guys like Tanev, Rust, Sheary, McCann, Zach Aston Reese. You know, I think that I like it. Like, I just not worrying about the fact they gave up the 15th overall pick, plus one of their better prospects in Philip Hollander, plus a decent guy in Evan Rodriguez. Like, just ignoring the cost of it and just saying, okay, well, Kapanen, how can he help? He adds a speed element to that offense that I think has maybe been lacking as they've gotten a little bit older and they've gotten a little bit slower. They haven't been quite as dynamic. You know, they've been very good on the cycle. They've been very good kind of grinding it out. But as we're seeing, you need a little bit of a speed element. You need some dynamic skaters in your forward core to be good. So I liked it. I like it from that perspective. I like it from Toronto's perspective. They save money. They get a first-round pick in a year in which they weren't slated to have one. And they get a decent prospect in Hollander, and they get a guy in Rodriguez that's, you know, we'll see if he fits into their plans. But they can at least figure it out.
I mean, you got to think Kapanen likes it, too. He goes from an insane team down the middle to potentially playing beside Crosby or Malkin. So it's not like it's a huge change for him in that regard.
Yeah. I mean, it's Kapanen, you know, he goes back to where he was drafted. So, because he was one of the pieces in the Phil Kessel deal.
Yep.
So, you know, there was sticker shock when I looked at it and I thought, wow, Rodriguez, you know, he's like a 20-ish point guy in the NHL.
A legit NHLer. Yeah,
and an RFA. And then, you know, you have another bottom 6 guy there. But then Hollander was a nice prospect, you know, who Avs fans might remember was selected with their pick.
Yep.
When the Avs traded down to take Justus Annunen. But Hollander's not like such a dynamic or high-end prospect that I think it swings it either way. The real prize in this is Kapanen for the first rounder. And for Toronto, this isn't like normally you get Pittsburgh's first round pick. You're talking about 22, 24, 28, something like that. This is 15.
The real pick there.
So I like it for them. I like it for both sides, and because they take back they take back no real financial commitments right now. You know, if they give Rodriguez a qualifying offer and he goes on, whatever he ends up being, they can decide if they want to make that commitment or not. But ultimately, this is going to save them a couple of $1 million minimum.
Yep.
And they get a first round pick out of it. And it doesn't significantly weaken them.
Right. They're still, let's be honest, fairly stacked in their forward core, certainly in the top 6.
So coming into this, after they lost, everybody's like, oh, they got to trade Marner. They got to trade Nylander. Those are the two guys that everybody had pointed out. And it's like, look, if they're getting this kind of a price tag for Kapanen,
yeah. Marner's going to be astronomically priced.
Marner's that was never realistic. That never made sense.
Yeah, more Nylander probably, but
Nylander makes a lot more sense. But now you're looking at that price and you're like, oh my god. So
not about to give up 3 firsts for William Nylander.
Yeah, exactly. Like a good player signed for a few years on an expensive contract, but one you can work around. Like that might be all they need, honestly, to free up some of the money for them to go into free agency and get a decent defenseman. Which maybe, who knows?
I mean, really, assuming Sandin makes the jump for them, they have Sandin, they have Riley, they have Muzzin for next year.
Yeah, I like Travis Dermott. So another year.
Sure, they have Dermott too. No one seems to like Marinson, but they do have him for another year if they want to run him as a 6th. So they really only need to sign one significant defenseman to round out a D-core. You can argue about the quality of that D-core, but you know they're not just going to be playing Cody Golubeff or anything like that.
Yeah, well, and it's a tough year because most of the top guys in free agency, it's Barry and Krug, and it's like, oh, those are two guys they really don't need.
They just tried that guy and it did not work out great for them.
They still have Liljegren. He just hasn't really developed much.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, he's still there, but obviously it would be different if they could go out and if they could clear out the money for a Pietrangelo. Totally changes who they are, but they would have to do a lot of clearing of the decks in order to make that work.
Kapanen ain't gonna cover that, but
and maybe a nice start, but not. Yeah.
So that's just kind of the news of the day. Obviously, not gonna have any effect on this year's playoffs or anything, but the reality is we're into round 2, and that means the majority of NHL teams are not playing anymore. Weird timing of this, and kind of underscores just what a true lack of an off season we're going to have. Teams are already getting into overdrive.
You have to wonder, like, these are two teams that just lost a week ago, a week and a half ago,
like less than a week ago, right?
Yeah, so they were both out. They both have been out for like 2 weeks tops, and normally deal of this magnitude takes time to put together. So interesting that this was the first thing Pittsburgh did too, was they said, hey, let's
go get better.
Add more money to our forward core, where it's like,
you guys are still playing Jack Johnson on the back end, but all right.
Yeah, and they're pressed against the cap now. Like, they've got very, very little space, but they're now committed to like 10 of these forwards.
Yep. For Kapanen's only 3 years, but some of these guys for some pretty long term.
Yeah.
So
but I mean, just like for at least through next year, like this is all money that's spent already. That they would have to find homes for these guys or whatever if they were going to try and do something.
Yeah, they have to move bodies if they're moving bodies. Basically, there's
definitely,
especially now that they've given up their first round pick in this draft as well. They're not going to be doing much on the draft floor with that. So
and this is a team that haven't been drafting anyway.
True.
You look at their
pick so late.
Well, they've traded so many of their first rounders, and now they're kind of at that point where it's like they've sort of buried themselves in this box because they've already dedicated so many resources to staying competitive in this window. That now that Crosby and Malkin have reached they're 33 and 34,
starting to decline. Yeah,
Malkin's got 2 years left on his deal before the very real possibility that he just decides to go back to Russia and call it a career. And so it's like, hey, we've got.
They're all in at the end of their window, and then it's just going to collapse once it's done, basically. Yeah.
And it's a good point. They've already traded next year's first, too, because their pick in the Zucker deal was conditional.
Yep.
And when they missed the playoffs, but did not get the top pick, they had the choice of this year or next year. So they said, we'll kick the can down the road for next year. Assume that we'll make the playoffs in the regular season, that it'll guarantee to be a lower pick than 15. And so now we're going to use 15 and trade it anyway. So,
and I'm sure they'll make moves, but this year they don't have a first or a second or a seventh. And next year they don't have a first, a third, or a fourth. And the only extra pick they have is an extra seventh. So,
well, and you look at in previous years, their picks have been, they had Samuel Poulin last year, and their top two picks in 2018 were Kalen Addison and Philip Hollander, who they've now both traded both guys away.
Yep.
And their last first round pick was Kasperi Kapanen,
who's now back in the fold, I guess. But
yeah, and their last first round pick before that was Derek Pouliot at 8th overall in 2012.
Yeah.
So this is not an organization that has
but they've
abandoned the draft.
Their cupboards are pretty empty at this point, and they're locked in, like you said. Not just next year, but they have Tanev for 5 more years. They have Jake Gensel for 4 more years. They have Zucker for 3 more, Hornquist for 3 more. And there's no escaping that. And they may well still be competitive or even contenders for the next year or two, but that's a time bomb.
It's like they have basically decided to be, Rutherford is the band on the Titanic, right?
Yep.
He's like, let's just set up on the top deck and play this out.
See if we can't get one more before we out of here.
Yeah, straight up. It's a terrible position to be in, but I can't say that it's the wrong one. I don't think it's the wrong approach. You only have Crosby and Malkin for so long. They've continued to be good enough regular season players to get you into the postseason. Maybe you get lucky enough. I mean, you look at Crosby; he's still been a point per game player.
Yeah, this is
for the last several years.
Very much so, just a reality of a cap world in the NHL, where you're going to have ups and downs, and you do what you can to extend your successful windows as long as possible. And sometimes that comes at the cost of your future.
Yeah. And as somebody in our chat just said, you'll take back-to-back championships. You'll trade that for an empty cupboard.
Yeah. If the Avs won a cup this year, if I could guarantee it today, but they wouldn't win anything for the next 10 years, you take it every single time.
Of course. You would always take the guaranteed cup.
Yeah. So it's not a hard decision when it comes down to it, but teams in the East very soon are going to be licking their chops when it comes to Pittsburgh. They didn't get the magic of winning Lafreniere this time, so we'll see. But
yeah.
Either way, we can take our first period break there. Time to acknowledge Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer here at DNVR. Had a few last night after the tough loss. I'm sure I'll have a few, hopefully in celebration for tomorrow's late game. But they are amazing, whether you get it at the DNVR bar. You can pick up 8 different taps there, get it straight from the taps, or head on down to the farmhouse in Littleton to get it from Breckenridge themselves. You can get the Avalanche Amber, the Strawberry Sky, the Agave Wheat, many other beers as well. They're all amazing in my opinion. You can use the Breck Beer Locator online to find your favorite beer near you. And, of course, we also have DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 rated sportsbook app out there. Cannot recommend these guys enough. Their odds boosts are just amazing. They do amazing work with that stuff. Sometimes they're basically just giving you free money on the odds boost stuff, especially when it comes to UFC betting and stuff like that. They're like, all right, look, if this fight lasts 11 seconds, you guys win. Not a hard bet to take. So highly recommend you're always checking out the odds boosts on DraftKings, and you can bet on basically just about anything. So right now they're doing an awesome giveaway. You can claim your share of up to $100 million in instant giveaways. All you have to do is download the app and sign up with promo code DNVR, then enter DraftKings free football survival pool. That's right. They even have free stuff where you don't have to put any money on the line and you can win prizes anyway. So again, download that DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code DNVR to get in on $100 million of prizes with that DNVR code. Only at DraftKings. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. Other terms and conditions and restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, let's get into a bit of the meat of the conversation that I wanted to talk about today, AJ. We might be flying by the seat of our pants here a little bit because I'm not sure how much we've actually looked into this. But no team in NHL history, at least since
I forgot to do this.
4-round format, has ever won 16-0. There's never been a Stanley Cup champion to sweep their way through the playoffs in the 4-round format. So we were curious, and we're looking this one up on the fly because that's how we roll.
Because I completely forgot about it last night after we talked about it.
Yep. How many losses do Stanley Cup champion teams usually have? Right now, this season, the least losses for any team is Vegas with 1. They dropped 1 game to Chicago so far, and that has them positioned the best of anyone, I believe. Beyond that, the Isles really haven't lost many games either. But interested to see, because on the one hand, there's like teams like the 2012 LA Kings, who, you know, every series was like 6 or 7 games. They lost a bunch of games.
St. Louis last year was they went 4-2, 4-3, 4-2, 4-3.
Okay, so they lost
6 or 7.
7. Yeah, 6 or 7 every series, and that would be, in that case, they lost 10 games with 2 4-3s and 2 4-2s.
Washington a couple of years ago, they went 4-2, 4-2, 4-3, 4-1.
So
they're still losing. That's an average of 2 per round.
2 per round, which is 8 losses total, and even then, they still had a 7-game series as well.
Yeah.
So just kind of looking at the grueling factor, I'm not sure. Pittsburgh's back-to-backs, I can't really remember.
The second one, they went through 2 game 7s.
Okay.
They had a 4-1 against Columbus, and then they went 4-3 against Washington, 4-3 against Ottawa, and then 4-2 against Nashville. So averaging a little over 2 losses per series.
So
and realistically, then, their first championship, they beat San Jose 4-2 in the final, beat Tampa Bay 4-3 in the conference, Washington 4-2, and then the Rangers 4-1. So again, you're averaging 2 losses.
Yeah. So
all of these are a minimum of 2 losses per series to win the cup.
And of course, there are some outliers. I believe someone in the chat mentioned Boston's last cup, where they rolled through. But Google has lost its mind. I looked up a list of cup winners, and in 2010, they have Adam Burish listed as the cup champion.
Well, I mean, he's the only one. He was the only guy that got his name on the cup that year. So
it's just one ring with his name. Like,
yeah, he was the only guy that got a ring
like
too.
A knife.
Good for him.
But
yeah, and then you have even if you look at Chicago's last cup, They went 4-2, 4-0, 4-3, 4-2.
Yeah, so even slightly under 2 losses per series, but you're looking at all of these teams are between 7 and 10.
Yeah, LA went 4-3, 4-3, 4-3, 4-1.
Yeah.
The Rangers were a reprieve for them. Oh, thank God. An easy series.
The East, finally.
Yeah.
Kind of flipped the tables on that recently in the league. But so all of these teams have lost 7 to 10 games in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Avs right now.
Almost all of them go through at least one 7-game series as well.
Right. So there are outliers, as I said, where teams that just are clearly the best in the league and roll through in the playoffs. Or they get hot goaltending or whatever.
Yeah, that's where it is that a team will get like crazy pants hot. It very rarely happens, but like that LA year where they just blew through everybody.
Yep.
They were the 8th seed and they smoked Vancouver and then they smoked St. Louis and they had Phoenix in the Western Conference Finals. And then that awful New Jersey team in the Cup Finals. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
What a year.
So
that was like the outlierist of all outlier years.
But I mean, you're looking at the most dominant, hottest teams in the world, right? And the LA Kings still had 4 losses that year.
Yeah.
So you're gonna take some L's along the way, I guess is the point. That being, if you want to count the round robin, the Avs have 4 losses this season. If you don't count the round robin and you only count round 1 and 2, the Avs just picked up their 3rd loss so far, which is perfectly on pace for 2 per round or less.
Yeah.
So
all of this just for us to say,
don't count them out yet, kind of.
It was something we were talking about last night after the game where it was like, how many games do teams really lose on their way to a cup final? And a decent amount. It's not easy to work your way through the postseason, and this was just I guess this is a good reminder.
Yeah, definitely keep in mind that, look, this isn't basketball. The greatest teams in regular season history lose 20 times. There's a very hard game to win, to go out and win every single night. If you're winning 3 out of 4 games on average, you are an incredible hockey team.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
The other side of that, certainly the Avs having to win 4 of their next 6 is not going to be easy.
Yeah. I think somebody had posted the all-time record
of teams going down 0-2.
Yeah, and it was like 57 and 160 something or something like that. And I'm like, okay, well, all right. So we're talking about just under 60 times in NHL history a team has come back from a 2-0 deficit to win a series.
That's
you get down 3-0, and I think that number drops to 3. 3 or 4. It's very, very, very rare. So tomorrow's important.
Pretty much a must win.
They have a mountain to climb. Like, it's already a mountain to climb. And now it's being down 0-2 is not going to make it any easier.
Yeah.
But I guess all the talk that we spent all year about character and
now's the time.
Resiliency and perseverance, and they're going to push back, and let's see it. It's funny because it's like for so much of the season, things went pretty well for the Avs. Even when they were injured, they were going through all the injuries. They were still winning the majority of their games.
Yep.
It's at this point, it's just like, hey, it's put up or shut up time. Like, we're gonna get to find out. It's all the talk leading up to it, it's great, but now we have to see it. You're gonna, if they don't come out desperate tomorrow, you have a problem.
Yeah, that's pretty clear, I think. And I said this after game one, and I guess I'm just going to keep saying it, because every time you face adversity like this, every time you get put in a new situation like this, the Avs are going to learn something about themselves.
Yeah.
It's not, this core hasn't really been in this situation before. Against Calgary, they lost game one, but they never went down by 2. Same thing with San Jose. They fought back after losing game 1 and evened up that series. Now they're down 2. Now they're not facing elimination, but their back is essentially against the wall to just keep themselves in the series, not to play for a game 7. It's not like Nashville, where they got to the end of that series and there was really nothing left with this team. There's still plenty left for this Avs team to give, and they need to find it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it really just drives home what a the kind of the random variance bug that bit them last night.
Yep.
It really drives home that giving a game away like they did in game 1, where they just didn't show up,
so costly,
and Dallas just kicked their ass all over the ice. It's just like, it's frustrating. It really is frustrating, because you just can't. And they wasted such a dominant effort from McKinnon. That
in both games, to be honest, yeah,
absolutely. It's disappointing, man. I don't know of any other word to really describe it right now other than disappointing. And I'm ready to get to tomorrow, because there isn't a whole lot more for. I don't feel like there's a lot left for us to talk about previous games.
Yep. I mean, there is one other thing, but we can get to that in the third period.
Yeah. We do still have a show to do.
Yep, kind of still got to talk about stuff, but it's sort of our jobs, I suppose.
Yeah.
Either way, MSU Denver Online, the place I went to school myself, well, partially online, partially in the classroom. You'll be able to do that too once classes start up again properly, but they put a dynamic education at your fingertips without forcing you to decide between earning a degree and living your life. MSU Denver is the Colorado institution providing rigorous and affordable online programs taught by professors who bring the real world into the classroom. Most of their professors worked in their industries at least one point or another, so they are a great networking connection as well. MSU Denver graduates use their relevant degrees to land coveted jobs. Some of our very own staff, including Allie and Harrison, even took classes over the summer. So if you have any questions, be sure to hit them up, and they'll be happy to answer anything you have. With over 750 different classes and 40 plus different paths, you can use MSU Denver to get a degree in whatever you fancy. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. AJ, let me frame it to you this way.
Okay.
Do the Avs win game 2 if they have Eric Johnson?
Oh, I have no idea. But I tell you, the loss of both Eric Johnson and Matt Calvert, two guys who would have been on the ice during the 5-on-3.
Yep. Certainly affects it. Two pretty vocal leaders on the team as well.
Yeah.
So
and the biggest thing for me is that you look at it and it's like, who's the other guy on the ice? Probably
Belmar as a center, I imagine.
I would say it's either Graves or Zadorov.
I like to run the 2 forwards, but sure.
Maybe Cole's not even out there for the initial 5-on-4.
That's probably true, yeah.
So he's not out there to lean on Joe Pavelski,
Yep. They do run EJ Graves quite a bit on the PK, so
they're 5-on-3. They switch it up. To be honest with you, I haven't noticed a trend in when they do it. When they do 2 forwards, 1 defense, or 2D and 1 forward. They've done both, and They've been successful and unsuccessful. So
who knows?
For me, I really don't.
There's probably not even enough 5-on-3 data to reasonably pull anything from anyway. So
straight up, it's such a limited.
Yeah.
And when you get scored on, it usually happens quickly enough where it's like, okay, well, it doesn't work.
Cool 15 seconds, moving on.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about the importance of winning a face-off, like on a 5-on-3, it's like
massive.
Because it's so easy to win a face-off and then just set up in a 5-on-3 because you can't pressure the puck at all. So, yeah, I'm thinking the loss of EJ. It's been interesting because of his contract. Avs fans have been very like, oh, get rid of him. Oh, they should look to move him. They should whatever, right? And then they play games without him, and you're like, man, this defense really kind of needs him.
Yep. And
it's funny because like statistically, all the underlines and everything, like he's not a dominant defender. He's not a really high end guy. I think he's the perfect glue guy between what Girard and Makar bring. And then the other three, Graves and Cole and Zadorov.
He's the perfect puzzle piece, 100%, because we can get into the Girard conversation if you want. Either way, even when Girard is playing at the top of his game defensively, it's not going to be a physical presence. He's not bringing the things that EJ is bringing. And the other side of that,
on the PK.
Right, exactly. And the other side of that coin, you get into the guys that are playing on the PK. You have Nikita Zadorov, who's wildly inconsistent from game to game, whereas EJ can bring you a bit more of a rock-like presence where he's not perfect, but you much more know what you're going to get out of him game to game compared to Zadorov.
And like finds ways to be successful, right? Like there are some things where some goals get scored and you're definitely like,
EJ, buddy.
What are you doing, EJ?
Yeah.
But more often than not, his units find success, and the guy, he's just a solid hockey player.
Yep.
And I think I was so excited that the physicality of an NHL season takes its toll on him every year. And we see it. The guy's just compromised every playoffs, whatever, right? Like if he's even healthy, if he even makes it that far.
Yep.
And it was awesome to see that he had kind of all that time off. He was so fresh.
And then
coming into camp
thing, and he's
and then
again. Yeah.
Yeah, and now it's like, look, he's done for the postseason. They said out indefinitely. Yeah. Doing our digging around behind the scenes, it's done. Like he's, maybe if they make a deep cup run and they get to game 7 of the cup finals and like he
Undertaker rises from the dead and comes down the tunnel. But as the Avs, they're expecting him not to be back. Is the point?
Yeah, here. Right. Like they're going to have to do this without him now, and this is kind of like the last year where I think Eric Johnson's injury issues are going to play a major role in Colorado for them.
Obviously,
because
Timmins are coming.
Well, and because like those guys are going to be able to help on both units if you want.
Yep.
I'm of the opinion Byram is going to take Girard's job on the second power play unit, and EJ's job on a PK unit.
Sure.
It will probably be like Zadorov's job, but
however you want to dice it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Byram, I think, is going to be on both. Will be on both, and Timmins will be on a PK unit. But this was kind of like the last year to get there, right? To get to the bridge to the youth.
Yep. Well, and AJ will still be around, but I agree. I think you'll start seeing that transition of him into more of a third pairing, going to be played a bit more sparingly. The veteran vocal leader of the defense who you try and at least keep fresh during the regular season, certainly. But And, you know, a lot of that depends on the young guys, too. If Byram comes in and looks absolutely terrible or something, guess what? EJ's going to be playing a bit more.
Yeah.
But that's coming. The EJ transition into the veteran guy on the team who doesn't have to do everything is coming.
Yeah. I mean, it's already started. We're seeing Girard and Makar get the heavy minutes anyway.
Yep.
But like I said, EJ was kind of like that perfect middleman between all of them. And then, yeah, so some people were wondering about Hunter Miska as the next goaltender up. He's, as far as I know, he's traveled to Edmonton and should be
quarantining right now.
He should be quarantining right now. I believe he has 7 days in which he is not allowed to do anything. He can be there, but he's not allowed
sit
to
in his room, basically.
Do any stuff with the team. And then after a week, he'll be allowed to start practicing with the club.
He, of course, brought in as the third string goaltender with Grubauer out. Hutchinson is the backup now.
Yeah. So I think all of this EJ conversation, some people are asking, and I mean, we're already kind of in this room already, but we've talked about maybe selling high on Ryan Graves in the offseason. And, you know, with Byram and Timmins, you could say, okay, maybe you sell high on Graves and you move Zadorov.
Sure.
I mean, would you really? I think you and I are more comfortable doing that.
Right.
Could you see an NHL club doing that?
There is no way.
Turning it over to rookies like that?
I don't see any universe where they not only have two true rookies in the lineup, they have a Cale Makar in his second year in the NHL. They have a Sam Girard who's really only in his fourth full year in the NHL.
Well, and you really lose like your only two true like physical presences.
Yeah.
Because like Cole will get physical with guys, but he doesn't hit guys in the way that Graves and Zadorov do. So you really would lose that aspect off your blue line entirely.
And I do think Byram will add a little bit to that category.
Yeah, well, in the same way that like Makar does it, like he'll get physical, but it's not like he's not like looking to do it.
I think Byram can add a little bit more than Makar, but you're asking a 19-year-old kid to go do that against men who's still going to fill out, still has some building to do. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, I mean, do you believe in his game or not? Is, you know, and like if you don't put Byram in the NHL next year, where does he go?
Yeah.
And with Timmins, you can just he can go to the AHL and then you can get called up and then you can take a job, but it doesn't ever work that way.
They pretty much
if they don't win a job out of camp and if they don't like stick right away, like
barring an injury situation, and then you have to come up and play really, really well, like Martin Kaut did this year, for it to even be a conversation.
Yeah, or I mean, like what Graves. I mean, that's how Graves won the look that he got, was that he played really well in the second half of the season.
Yep.
But you know, the other thing is that I think they really like Kevin Connaughton, and I think that they're going to talk themselves into bringing him back as their 6th or 7th D.
6th D would be pretty disappointing. And there's nothing against Connaughton. I think he's perfectly serviceable, but I believe the Avs can ice a better defensive lineup with him.
Yeah.
7th D, fine, whatever. That's fine.
If he was the 6th D and like, I don't know, I would want to see what the lineup looked like before I really felt strongly about that. And then I would want to know what the moves were to move out one of these guys, because that they would have to do that.
Yeah,
these guys are all under contract, or in Z's case and Graves' case, they're RFAs, so they're not going anywhere.
I don't see a world where the Avs don't move at least one defenseman this offseason.
Yeah. Well, and if they continue to play as poorly as they have against Dallas, I think it makes it easier, because it's just like, okay,
if that's what they get out of you in the playoffs.
You're talking about needing these big physical presences because, you're playing a grinded out style team in Dallas where they want to play physical and you need those guys. But if they play poorly anyway, what the hell is the point?
Yeah.
You know, like if your argument is, oh, you're going to need those guys to succeed in these types of series. Well, if you don't succeed in these types of series and they don't play well, did you really need them?
Right. Why are you even here then?
So, because right now, Nikita Zadorov had an atrocious game 1, and while he was better in game 2, has not been a difference maker whatsoever. So, if this is the exact kind of series that you're saying that the Avs need him to be in, okay, well, he's in it, and through 2 games hasn't done a damn thing worth keeping him around.
Ryan Graves, kind of the same story.
Ryan Graves, very much the same story. It's been frustrating. It's honestly been frustrating to see that the bottom just fell out of both guys.
Yep. So the Avs need more from their defense, I think, is ultimately what we're pushing towards in the immediate and in the future.
Well, and with Eric Johnson out, for the rest of this run,
where's it going to come from?
Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to step up. We always knew that Ryan Graves was kind of playing over his ability level.
Yeah.
But because he had found such a comfy home next to Cale Makar, it was like, well, they're getting away with it.
You ride it while it works.
And hey, look, they stopped getting away with it, and now it's time to find an adjustment. It's time to find a partner. It's time to find a way to make this work, and it hadn't happened yet.
I said this in the YouTube comments the other day, but
a brave soul to venture into those.
I was born in it. I'm used to it. I
see like the Bane conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
I was molded by it.
I got this job because I can handle the YouTube comments.
Fair enough.
But the Avs need their defense to be better, and the reality is, if they want to win this series, I believe this is an opportunity for Cale Makar and Sam Girard to take this team by the reins and say, look, we're the guys now.
Yeah. I love Sam Girard, but he needs to nut up a little bit. Stop playing peekaboo with your confidence and go be the Sam Girard that we know.
Yep.
Like,
spin some fools into the dirt, make some crisp passes, set up your teammates and make a play.
Go be the Sam Girard. Be dynamic with your feet. Push the game. Stop deferring. Stop trying to make sure that, I'm just trying to help my teammates and I'm just trying to be a force for the good out there. No. Don't be the shy little dude. Be the little lion.
Yep.
There's so much more for him to give. And like Cale Makar, there is too, but Cale Makar's in his second year in his rookie year.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's only so much you can expect from that guy. You like knowing that he's in his first year, that this is, he's still figuring out how to play in this league. Like I expect by the time he has 200 games played, Cale Makar is probably
a Norris contender. Yeah.
Right. Like a monster. Like he's already like night in and night out. You don't really know which Cale Makar you're getting, right? Like you're feeling like, oh my gosh, there's potential for something special. Otherwise, I may not notice him that much. By 200 games played, I expect he's a monster. Girard is there. He should be. And like Girard is still, it's not like he's tapped out. He will still have room to get better in his career. But you would like to see him continue. You'd like to see a little more consistency by this point in his career.
Yeah. It's two different conversations. Absolutely. Girard essentially transitioning into kind of what EJ's role used to be. Doing a little bit of everything. Yeah, they might not put him out on the PK, but they're going to put him in tough defensive minutes at times.
At this point, they should consider putting him out on the PK because of the way they use their defensemen.
Yep.
He's such a smart defender, and he reads the play so well that him and he won't be the same kind of shot blocking force that like Ryan Graves will be, right? But you might have a better chance. Contested pucks, he's got more skill there.
Not going to give anything through the seam.
Yeah, and if he gets a chance to clear it, he will.
It's getting out. Yeah. But the other side of that is Kale, and I hear what you're saying, that it's still his first year in the league, but after game 2, I don't think it's a hard conversation to go to the kid and be like, look, shoot the puck at 5-on-5.
No, of course not. I mean, it's an easy conversation where you're like, you're out there for 27 minutes, dude. We need you to be a little more aggressive with the puck than this. Be a little more selfish. Yep. I know Nate's probably going to yell at you at least once, but you've got to learn to tune that out.
Yep, for sure.
So it's just been and we haven't even talked about all of the forwards who have underwhelmed. I mean, some of that we talked about in the post.
You can kind of just bundle that as the entire bottom 9, essentially.
Yeah, really. And that's been the disappointing part of this series, is that the depth was contributing against Arizona and in the round robin. Like, they weren't dominant, but guys were picking up points here and there, and they were chipping in. Other lines were chipping in, and now all of a sudden it's just like they're completely gone. And it's not, and I'm sorry, but Dallas is not so overwhelmingly talented in their depth that they should be erasing all of these dudes.
Your key there is the round robin, right? Like, everyone's saying, oh, well, they just contributed against Arizona because they sucked. No, JT Compher was scoring huge goals in the round robin for the Avs. Yeah. They were getting goals out of Donskoy in the round robin as well. Like,
JT Compher gets that clutch label applied to him all the time, and it's like, where is it?
Yeah, time to show up in the second round.
Seriously, let's see it. Do you want to be a guy that gets labeled as a dude who scores the goals in the big moments? This is a big moment. Let's see it, man. And then do it again. You can't just do it once and be like, "Okay, I did it." No. You got to show up. You got to keep doing it. I'm sorry, it's not fair, but you got to keep doing it.
4 game-winning goals have to be scored if you want to win a series. It's simple as that.
As flawed as that stat is, too, Drew.
Yeah. You can't win if you don't score a game-winning goal. Period.
Yeah.
And game-winning goals might not mean jack in a lot of games, but someone had to score a go-ahead goal. So,
yeah. That's all. I mean, Alexander Radulov scored one off his shoulder
on accident. Didn't even know it hit him.
Yeah. Not even asking for something crazy like that. Just shoot the puck.
Yep.
We know y'all can do that.
That's the one other thing I wanted to mention is I saw some people comparing the Avs game 2 against Dallas to Arizona's game 2, and that's just unequivocally untrue. Arizona against Colorado gave them their best, and Colorado was still the better team.
Yeah.
Whereas in this game, Colorado outshot Dallas 40-27, were significantly better for the majority of that game, and had a terrible 10 minutes where they played awful and couldn't get a single bounce. There's no connection between those two games.
Yeah.
So that's all I got, AJ.
That's the quizzical look on my face when you brought it up.
Yeah.
It's like,
what? That's where I'm at. Nonsense. No more nonsense. That's what the Avs need. No more nonsense in this series. No more nonsense at all. Guess we're wrapping up for the day. We're going to get out of here. Obviously, Avs play tomorrow night. We will be back with you for another post-game show. Hope y'all tune in.
Yeah, I hope we will see you guys at 1 a.m.
Yeah, it's going to be late. It's going to be late.
The next two post-game shows are going to be in the middle of the night. So if you're not able to stay up for them, they will at least be up for you in the morning.
Yep. Always find them on YouTube on the DNVR channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, highly recommend you do it to get all of our content. Or, of course, you can find all of that and all of our written and other stuff on thednvr.com. If you want to support us, subscribing to the site and getting access to all of that is a great way to do so. We also just dropped a new shirt. I don't believe I have a picture of it, but if you're a Cale Makar fan.
We are well prepared for today's show, y'all.
Yeah, look, all right, it's Tuesday, and the Avs lost yesterday. So yeah, we're holding it together at the moment.
We're both tired, and we're both just kind of like, well, we need to get to the next day,
and we know our day doesn't really start until midnight tomorrow. So
yeah, straight up, like I'm like, oh, I'm still around to play video games all evening. Like nothing changes. I'm gonna have a nice social night because I can.
So either way, looking forward to the next Avs game. Certainly, AJ, let's do this on cam. You think the Avs still win the series? I'll put it. I still think it's a coin flip. I think the
Yes.
Avs are still a coin flip for this series.
I do still think that they do it.
All right. I like the faith. I hope the people like the faith too. You know what I still think we should do? A Manscaped read.
All right. Go ahead and talk about your package and your junk and how it looks clean and your wife is super amped up and,
Yeah, real talk. She doesn't care about the manscaping at all, but she loves their underwear. That stuff is like the softest context made to man. She uses it as like yoga shorts because she doesn't need it as underwear, obviously, but she says it's the best stuff ever and that we have to order more just so she can wear them as yoga shorts because
they are very comfortable. They do wonders. Well, we have young people that listen to our show, so I'm just
they do wonders is a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Either way, whether you want the underwear, whether you want the trimmer, whether you want the deodorant, they have you covered for all of your manscaping.
Mints.
Look at AJ's got the mints right there, perfectly set to go.
I think they're 99 cents.
Yeah, they're not expensive at all,
so
and you get 20% off and free shipping when you use code DNVR at checkout. So even cheaper. Jump on it. Take care of whatever you need to take care of when it comes to your manscaping. Thank you, everyone, for watching live or listening after the fact. However you consume it, always much appreciated. And we will talk to you guys tomorrow.